Meeting for the City of St. Pete Beach for August of 2026. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Member Schmidt.
Here.
Vice Chair Core.
Here.
Member Kunzer.
Here.
Chair Chase.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We'll move on to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Are there any changes to today's agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair and board members. Item 4A on the agenda, case number 26111 for 3400 Gulf Boulevard. It was originally on our July 29th agenda, which the applicant had requested a continuance to today's meeting, but ultimately has decided to withdraw the case as of this morning.
Okay, thank you.
That's no longer on the agenda.
So we'll now have 2 action items for today. Prior to moving forward with the meeting, we would like to swear anybody in that plans to speak on behalf of the board.
If you
Anyone-
plan to speak, stand up and
Okay, thank you. Anyone who will be speaking or testifying before the board needs to be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
We'll now move to general audience comments. If you have something that you'd like to share with us today that's on the agenda, you'll have your time. If there's anything else you'd like to address the board with, we'd be happy to hear from you now. Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from last month's July 29th meeting. Did the board have a chance to review? Any,
I move to approve.
we have a
Second?
roll call, please.
Member Kunzer.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Vice Chair Core.
Yes.
Chair Chase.
Yes.
And I think we just need an approval on the amended
Minutes?
agenda.
Okay, all in approval of today's agenda? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, moving on to action items for this afternoon. As previously mentioned, we now have 2 cases. We'll start with action item B, case number 26016, which is an amendment for 301 Gulf Way. Thank you, Brandon.
Good afternoon, Brandon Berry, planner. So as mentioned, this is an amendment to a variance case that was approved earlier in the year, back in March, case 26016 for 301 Gulf Way. It remains a practical difficulty variance. The owners, Todd and Susan Herman, request an amendment to the development order to permit the encroachment of a meter platform with stairs to 4 inches from the secondary front property line along Gulf Way, where a minimum of 2 feet is required. The request is made pursuant to Land Development Code Section 6.22 C1. Here is an aerial of the property. It's located at the northeast corner of 3rd Avenue and Gulf Way. The property has a zoning of RLM2, which is residential low medium. It's also within the Paso Grill Overlay District. This home was authorized for elevation in a formerly non-conforming primary structure setback of 1.5 feet from the northern side property line and 2 feet from the eastern rear property line back in March. The subject work scope is currently underway. There is no modification to that scope that was approved. The owners of the property contacted staff earlier this summer to relay that they faced a challenge in locating their meter platform within the allowable setbacks. It had originally been proposed on the east side of the structure. Due to the need to accommodate a platform, it's been located to the southern, what is the secondary front yard along 3rd Avenue. That is due to the elevation of the meter and the need to accommodate a platform based on Duke Energy standards. There is a 2-step 14-inch platform within the secondary front yard of Gulf Way. This was not addressed under the original variance application. I'll show slides in a moment. It was shown on the eastern side. That requires the subject amendment. And again, this just gets into detail on why that is required. There is an option to flood-proof a meter. That was what we proceeded with when these plans were approved. However, Duke Energy has not at this time approved a waterproof meter. Therefore, due to the elevation of the meter, it does require a 2-step platform. So you can see the existing condition survey on the left, the proposed site plan on the right. Again, the setbacks of the home itself are not changing. The only addition is the platform shown in the red box that will extend to 4 inches from the secondary front property line. You can see the former location at the top left, what was approved under the plans for the alley side, so that would be the east side of the structure facing the alleyway on the bottom, and then the requested location on the south side is viewed from 3rd Avenue, showing that two-step platform. Here's some photographs of the site, a mix of the home in its current configuration and as well as elevated. You can see the northern view from 3rd Avenue prior to elevation, another with the home in its current state under elevation. This is the side from which the meter platform is proposed. It will not be elevated up to the living level. It will be on an enclosed portion on the ground level once the ground level is enclosed. This is looking at the alleyway. This is looking north from the 3rd Avenue. Another toward the back pre-elevation. This amendment is subject to the practical difficulty variance standards in section 3.12B of the code. We'd asked the applicant under the prior case to give any detail on any future proposed ancillary mechanical equipment. We do not expect that they are proposing under this scope. We just wanted to confirm that. The only request is for the meter platform. As far as the amendment is concerned, staff has no concerns. We find the request is reasonable. It resolves a hardship discovered after the project was approved for permitting. The meter platform design resolves an issue that was not caused by the applicant. It is necessary to maintain electrical service to the residents. This is the only logical location on the residence for an elevated platform. On the north side and the east side, it would encroach beyond the property line. On the west side, it would be in front of the home and would just look out of place in that location. This was a condition that was passed with the original approval. There is no change. We're just bringing forward the condition, if the board approves this request, that the applicant have a final as-built survey prepared, submitted, and approved prior to the permit closeout of the associated home elevation permit, which would now include the meter platform. So with that, we have our motion options on the screen. We have no concerns, and we would recommend approval of this case as proposed. Happy to take any questions. We also have the applicant present.
Thank you, Brandon. Any questions for Brandon? No?
Thank you.
If the applicant would like to share their case?
Hello again, I'm Mark Gennady with Gennady Architecture. I'm the architect on the project. We're located at 21021 US Highway 19 North. Simple item here today. I just want to point out that we initiated the conversation to make sure we could get it done properly. I'm here with the owner of the home, Todd Herman. If you have any questions, we could answer them for you.
We appreciate you proactively bringing the case, to us as it was discovered. The only question proposed by staff was, is there any other additional equipment that you anticipate needing to
No.
install? Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
We do accept the condition too with the survey, of course.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here today that would like to speak on behalf or in opposition of this case? Okay, hearing none, we'll close open public comment and open for board discussion.
This is not the first one. It won't be the last one.
But it's always nice, just for the public's knowledge, when we're able to have these cases come to us as they're discovered, so then we can very simply approve them as opposed to them being an after-the-fact situation.
Did you have one condition? I think I read
Yeah, and
the one
they
condition
said they
about
were supportive of being able to bring the survey
after.
back. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
In that case, if it's appropriate, I move that we approve case, I gotta find it again, 26016 with the one condition recommended by Brendan.
Second that?
Vice Chair Core,
Yes.
Member Kunzer,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Chair Chase.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to our second and final case for this afternoon, case number 26120, 510 64th Avenue.
City Attorney, this is a new case, so should we do ex parte disclosure?
Yep.
So at this time, if you could please state whether you have had any ex parte communications with regard to this matter, whether it be oral or written. If it was in writing, then you will need to supply a copy of it to the clerk. Either way, you need to disclose whether who you had the communication with, the sum and substance of that communication, and when it occurred. So if we could just go down the line and.
Yep.
I can't see
None.
names. Okay.
None for myself.
None.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was easy.
This is unnecessary and undue hardship variance case 26120 for 510 64th Avenue. Micah Thompson of Gulf and Bay Dock Works, LLC for Earl W. Porter Jr. This is a significant revision as being presented. We will present the original that had been noticed and had been commented on by staff in the staff report, and then the revision that was received late last week. They are requesting to construct a dock with boat lift located 8.75 feet from the eastern extended littoral property line, where 9.375 feet is required without encroached upon waterfront neighbor authorization. The dock will also have a total length of 21 feet, where 18.75 feet is the maximum length allowable without authorization of both adjacent waterfront property owners. This request is made pursuant to Land Development Code Section 6.23, D, 3, and 4. Here is an aerial of the property. The property has a zoning of RU1. That is a detached single-family zoning, also the use of the property and its neighbors. So the original request is advertised, included a request for an encroachment of a dock, a newly constructed dock, toward the eastern side property line, extended property line. They were requesting 2 feet where 9.375 feet is required. They were also requesting a total dock length of 25.7 feet where 18.75 feet is the maximum allowable. And you can see the design. This again was the original variance request that had been submitted. It was also what was advertised for this case. You can see the total length on the left side of the dock sketch, the 17 plus the 8.75, and then at the bottom, adjacent to the seawall in this case, you can see the 2-foot side littoral setback. The revised request, which was submitted late last week, the applicant has pretty substantially modified the dock to bring it more into compliance with the code. However, setback variances are still required. They have modified the dock from a 2-foot eastern side setback encroachment to an 8.75-foot setback. That is in an area where 9.375 feet is required. That is pursuant to Land Development Code Section 6.23D4. They've also reduced the length from 25.7 feet down to 21 feet. That does still exceed the allowable overall length of the dock of 18.75 feet based on the Land Development Code. That request is made pursuant to Land Development Code Section 6.23D3. And you can see the bottom right plan. That is the revised plan showing those setbacks, a total length of 21 feet. We include boat lifts and any other appurtenances and docks in the overall size and footprint of docks. So that is the extension to the outermost part of the boat lift with the tie pole on that side. And then you can see the 8.75 foot requested littoral side setback from the eastern neighbor. Here's some photographs of the site showing the sign posting. Another toward the front of the house, showing the waterfront looking toward the south. Another of the waterfront looking out toward the channel, looking at the neighbor's dock. Another toward the southwest, looking toward the neighbor's property. There are 8 criteria that the applicant must demonstrate to justify a undue and unnecessary hardship variance. Staff commented on these in the staff report. However, our commentary was on the original design. We did have significant concerns about the overall square footage of the dock, inclusive of the lift, as well as the extension and the side encroachment. We do find that the revised plan is substantially more in alignment with the hardship criteria, given the substantial reduction in length and width, as well as the proposal for a lower weight rating lift that is consistent with other and similar configurations in the same neighborhood. There are other property owners in the same neighborhood that have a similar weight rating lift, similar size lift, and a similar size dock to the one that is being requested here. We are asking for additional applicant testimony to support criteria 2 and 7, despite the modifications. So this would be based on the modified plan. The first is whether the input of either affected neighbor has been solicited regarding the revised plan. We did receive 4 letters on this case. 2 of them were received prior to receiving the modified plan. Those were from the 2 waterfront adjacent neighbors in opposition. We received 1 letter from an interior neighbor that was in support. That was earlier today based on the revised plan. We also received 1 letter in opposition today from a neighbor across the street. That was not clear whether that was commenting on the original plan or the revised plan. Whether a lesser width boat lift could be accommodated and eliminate the need for one or both of the variances while still providing for a 10,000-pound boat lift. Again, that is relatively common throughout the neighborhood, even on properties with a similar waterfront width as the subject property. However, the original boat lift had been proposed at a 13-foot width. There was only a very slight reduction to 12.8 under the subject scope and revision. So we wanted to know if there's a possibility of reducing the width of the lift, potentially to eliminate one or both of the variances that are being requested. This is also a fairly unique property citywide. In most waterfront configurations, we have seawalls that are perpendicular with one another so they don't face the challenges that waterfront owners in this neighborhood do, where effectively the extended side property lines cross one another right at that corner. So it causes some challenges related to how the Land Development Code allows for buildable rights, getting a little bit outside what we evaluate, looking at access to the channel and other riparian rights and littoral rights that property owners may or may not have. That's a little bit outside the scope of what we look at in the Land Development Code, but we are looking at, is there minimum reasonable access to the channel? Is there a reasonable access from the waterfront of the property to the open water? We do want the applicant to provide some testimony as to how the owner will contend and align their dock with the literal buildable area of the inside corner property. So that would be the one at a 90-degree angle to this lot. It could potentially cause conflicts in the future independent of a literal judicial determination. When it comes to these challenges where there might be buildability issues, that's generally something that's handled outside of a Land Development Code. And I'll point out what I'm referring to here. Going back to the plan, the adjacent waterfront property owner at 6381 Second Palm Point, they have a, I believe, 68-foot wide seawall. So their buildable rights do conflict slightly at the side slightly compared with where they would be extending out the overall length of this dock at 21 feet. That could cause a little bit of a challenge as far as the Land Development Code is concerned, getting away from any kind of literal rights that they may have, which would usually be addressed in a more judicial context. And again, potentially reducing the width of the boat lift could resolve the issue related to the length or potentially the variance overall. So that concludes our request for applicant testimony. With that being said, we do not have any recommended conditions under this application. We do ask for applicant testimony for criteria 2 and 7, the action options for the board are on the screen, and I believe we do have the applicants present. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Brandon?
Yeah, can we talk more about the neighbor's seawall width? You said it was 68 feet.
Yes, I believe so.
So are you implying that that overlaps to the applicant's area?
It potentially could, and that would be based even if both property owners were to build within their 25% envelopes. It's one of those conflicts that is just present in the code based on how we measure the extension of side property lines. At an 85-foot, or sorry, as a 68-foot width, you're looking at a setback of approximately 17 feet. This waterfront owner would be able to go out a little bit further than that just based on the buildable rights in the city's code. So there will be a conflict potentially in the future, regardless of whether a variance is issued today or not. I just brought it up because there is a potential future outcome where a neighbor is looking to add on to their dock and it could potentially conflict with this dock, that would be something they would have to work out with, through permitting at that time.
That's what I'm trying to resolve is where the applicant requires a variance for this and the neighbor can extend into that area. I'm trying to find where that fine line is, or where it's fair to both parties.
So based on the Land Development Code, the allowable by right code permission for this dock is about 18.75 feet, but that would potentially be that would extend beyond the 17.5 foot setback. Based on the code provision, it would be about a 1.25 foot overrun of that buildable space. So that would potentially be a conflict in the future, even if they were to build to the code allowance. This is just extending that. It's going about 2.25 feet beyond what would be allowed under the code.
Okay, interesting.
So,
Any other questions for Brandon? Thanks, Brandon.
thank you.
If the applicant or their agent would like to share their case.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Perfect. Hi, I'm Shannon. Let me state my address.
Yes, please.
244 York Street North, St. Petersburg, Florida. Shannon Lemus, representing Gulf and Bay, for the homeowner who we have here as well. So as Brandon said, we did have a new proposal that we sent last week. After reviewing the city staff report and the concerns raised during the original proposal, we went back and substantially redesigned the project. We took seriously the city's questions regarding whether the lift could be smaller, whether the dock footprint could be reduced, and whether the configuration could be reoriented to minimize impacts on the neighboring properties. The original, like he said, included a 13,000-pound lift, and 138 square feet of dock. The revised design that we're presenting today is going to be it's a 10,000-pound lift that actually has already been reduced width-wise into custom smaller width already on this new proposal, and it has 77.6 square feet. The existing dock right now is approximately 174 square feet, which means that we've reduced the dock itself by 55% less to try to help make up for adding the lift and keeping somewhat of the same footprint. We also looked at the actual vessel sizes within the neighborhood because staff questioned whether the request was primarily being driven by an unusually large desired vessel. 32 boats were measured in the surrounding neighborhood, and they came out at an average of 25.2 feet for a length of boat. When looking specifically at boats in corner lots in the neighborhood, the average is actually higher at 26.9 feet. The new proposed design accommodates at the largest a 24-foot vessel. Let's see here. So the question that we're asking today for the board is to consider is whether that the revised design represents the minimal reasonable relief necessary to address this physical restraint, and we believe that it does. This is not an attempt to maximize development or obtain a special privilege. It is substantially reduced a compromised design intended to provide reasonable residential waterfront access while minimizing the requested variance and minimizing potential future impacts in the neighboring waterfront properties. So the physical geometry is what is creating the hardship here. The lack of neighbor authorization requires us to speak in front of you and go ahead and have a variance granted. The revised design, again, demonstrates that we've responded to the city's concerns and reduced the project rather than attempting to maximize anything. With that being said, I do have the charts for all the boats in the neighborhood, the stats that I had, if you want me to show you those as well.
You can present them to the clerk for the record if you'd like.
Okay,
I think we
perfect.
can take your testimony.
Okay. And then on the new proposed design, can we get this up on here, please? Let's see here.
Almost, you're getting there. There we go.
There we go. Okay. All right. So essentially, we strategically made this. So if you look here, you envision a boat here, okay? If we don't go out as far this way as we have proposed, and we take that off of the dock to, be within the length setback, the bow of the boat is going to run into either this seawall or this seawall. And again, this is for a maximum 24-foot boat, which is smaller than the majority in the neighborhood already. Now, if we rotate it counterclockwise to try to avoid this max length limit here, when we back out, we're going to potentially hit, it'd be very hard to maneuver a boat out because of this dock here. We can't go more this way because we would not be able to move an over with this. If you look at the angle of the boat coming off, it's strategically designed to be able to avoid the maximum length of this dock, which is 34 feet, and the maximum length of what this dock can come out to as well. So even if this dock here extends out farther, you're still able to maneuver out this way. And it's purely safety, geometry, and physics. There's just really no other way to do it at all without not having a boat lift or a boat, which is the hardship in itself.
And you stated that this is already designed as a custom width in order to maintain a 10,000.
It is, yes. If, got, this right here is a chart based on the length of a boat, just as an average center consoles, which is an average boat in the area that is used, based on the weight, which capacity of lift is recommended. So even on a 26-foot boat here, it's recommended for a 13,000-pound lift. Again, the max boat we have is a 24, and that would be a minimum of a 10. As far as the widths of them, we've taken a foot off of the normal 10,000-pound lift in width already.
And has the revised proposal been shared with the neighbors to reconsider their support?
I do not believe so. Not strategically, but it hasn't been a friendly situation.
Okay.
The only other thing, the other thing that I was gonna state is, so it's 37.5 is the waterfront way of the subject property. As Brandon stated, the neighbor to the right has redone their seawall, so they've eaten into that. So thus our workable waterfront way right now on this property is 35 feet. So if we look at, this one here, that changes it. So this is why we actually designed it within the 8.75, thinking that that is the actual setback. I mean, also that is the lift itself, when you rotate it, that is the width of it. But if we're working with 35 feet based on the code from the city, our setback is now 8.75. So I'm not really sure which waterfront way we're using to calculate, but based on what is in actuality there, it's 35 feet, and thus we are not in the side setbacks. So the only thing that we're actually asking for a variance on is the length, and by 3 feet.
I'm trying to understand why there's a change in length if they redid their seawall. Well, I don't understand that.
So the seawall, it was this seawall over here that was redone. And when you build a seawall, you build it directly in front of the old one. Thus, you're eating in this way to the water. Therefore, it shortened this waterfront way.
By how much?
That was
2 feet.
2.5 feet, somehow.
A lot.
6 inches, not.
Well, everybody will have their chance to speak, okay?
I did not actually measure it. It was Brandon who went out there and measured it and said it was 35 feet. That is what he came up with, which is the current workable.
Okay.
Okay. So that is just what all these colors are here for. Didn't really know which ones we should go by, but the only other thing here, as far as the neighbor letters, they said there's no unique hardship. City staff has already independently recognized that the inside corner relationship and neighboring seawall extension create a challenge to providing open water access. The boat lift or the boat or the lift itself is oversized. We have covered that. It is not. Said excessive, amount of dock we're asking for. We have reduced it. I don't believe that it is excessive in consideration to everything else in the neighborhood. It creates a navigational hazard. It was actually strategically designed to not create a navigational hazard based on the two neighboring dock structures themselves. And it's going to interfere with other people's waterfront rights. It really doesn't. Again, we designed it to not interfere with other people's waterfront rights specifically. So, any questions?
Any questions for the agent?
No.
Brandon, I have one question for you prior to opening up for comment. Thank you so much.
Yep.
In regards to the waterfront footage, can you just speak to whether we should be considering the 37 or the 37 and a half or the 35 and how that does or doesn't affect their setback requirements?
I would still look at it as 37.5. I understand the neighbor did extend the seawall. I did not actually go out to independently verify that. We had talked with the applicant about that when the first case was first submitted. My understanding is they have effectively 35 feet of usable waterfront property width, but the actual surveyed property at the waterfront is 37.5. I do feel that they've reasonably supported the need for that effect, less than a foot encroachment, because that is based on the usable waterfront width is what they are proposing. The length was really with the revised plan what we had some concerns about. I think they've justified the minimal encroachment necessary, but we still, I stand by the concern I had about the potential development conflicts with the waterfront adjacent neighbor, and that's just something that's inherent in the code based on the setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Brandon, I have a-
would it be helpful to bring back the presentation so we can show you the rear yard with the picture?
Sure.
Just think that might be a good representation. Go to the photos that we have of the rear. I think go one more, possibly. And there you go. Like you can see kind of, if you look at it, the seawall that currently exists at the edge, actually their property extends further, but it's not the waterfront portion.
Yep. That's helpful.
Brandon, can you, if you know what the dock lengths are on the east and west neighbors, are they within the setbacks?
I don't have that. I could look it up for the board. If I could take a few minutes to do that, I can get you that information.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
You would like to?
Okay.
Well,
Brandon, if you could confirm, but we'll if the agent would like to provide commentary in regards to the neighboring dock lengths.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. They are within their maximum length at the moment. However, the neighbor to the right, around the corner, the one we're looking at, does have a longer dock than what is actually permitted. I'm not sure by how much.
On the west side.
Yeah.
And can you speak to the hardship regarding specifically the length and not the width of the variance being requested? Like we talked a lot about the width and the difference between the
Right.
seawall and the not, but the reason for needing to go out the distance that.
Yes, again, so if we were to bring the entire design, the 3 feet back towards the seawall, the bow of the boat would be on the seawall. It would hit the seawall. You wouldn't be able to, and that again is, a 24-foot, boat at a maximum. I mean, we're already at a 2-foot clearance from the seawall right now. So, and based on the angle to have to maneuver out, I mean, you're looking at like a 13-foot boat that's gonna fit in there. I mean, we're not talking about something a little smaller. We're talking about something a lot smaller.
Any other questions for the agent?
No.
Okay, thank you. Did the applicant want to speak themselves? No. If there's anybody else here today that would like to speak on behalf or in opposition of this case, now would be the time.
I have Elizabeth Langner.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Langner.
hold it
My
mic
husband and
down so
I.
we can
You should just speak directly into the mic or pull down a little bit for your
Yeah.
for us to hear.
Sorry,
Speak
I
up,
talk-
'cause we need to,
I speak really low. Sorry.
Okay.
Better?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. My name's Elizabeth Langner. My husband and I, Reinhard, we live at 520 64th Avenue. We've referred to as the eastern neighbor. We're on this side. Well, okay, that side. I did submit our objection and in hopes that this would be denied, not only based on the fact that we don't feel that it's a hardship in the sense that, you would normally think of one. We asked the board to deny it. Several reasons. Property encroachment. We weren't aware of the change. We weren't notified that there was any change in the set of, the new dimensions of the dock. Even looking at that, my understanding from the discussion was that it still could possibly encroach if we ever decide to expand or extend our dock or our lift, change our lift. Not only us, but maybe in the future, which to us, that not only affects us, but any future owner of the property, possibly our kids. So, and it is a serious encroachment. Even given the fact that it was changed, it still affects us. Now, with the 2-foot variance, we were concerned with privacy. They could literally step from their dock onto our property, and the dock being on our side, there's the noise issue. People coming in with a boat, hanging out on the dock, things like that. That would put the boat directly looking into our yard, into our sunroom, into our pool area, creates a real privacy issue. Given the fact that it was moved over a bit, it doesn't affect us as much. It does affect the neighbor on the other side because it is directly in front of their window and right in their water view. I'm not speaking for them, it's just fact. The 13,000-pound boat lift,
well, it's
I
10
see
now.
definitely an issue, and even with the adjustments to a smaller one, you can still get a really good-sized boat in there. Our concerns are the dangers with the navigation. I know it was mentioned that there are several other corner lots that have boat lifts, but I looked at all of them. I did a lot of looking at the maps, and all of those are set up a little differently. The lots aren't the same size. They're not oriented the same way. The docks are different angles. So in my view, from what I saw, it's not the same. So they really shouldn't be compared with that. It's a really narrow area there that they would have to be going through. And again, if we chose to, in one of the answers that we saw, they proposed that, or suggested that if we put a boat on the other side of our dock, that would keep them from placing their dock on a horizontal to their on their property, in other words. Sorry, I'm nervous.
You're fine.
So I think there's a big danger with the navigation through there, being that it is such a narrow area. Many times, even when we bring our boat in, when the water is calm, we have problems navigating. When you're trying to get into, it's like threading a needle. When they're trying to get into that small area, we feel that it would be a danger to us, to our property, to our neighbor's property, with our boat, our dock. We just put our dock in, I think, not less than a year ago, and we definitely don't want it to be damaged. We believe that it would be a decrease in our property, make our property less valuable if we do decide to sell at some point. We don't have a plan, but I can see it immediately affecting that, because the new buyer wouldn't have that say-so, and, you know, it would reduce our property values. I believe that it would be a financial benefit to the buyers or the owners immediately. You know, it's just a given that if you put a boat and a boat lift and a dock on a property, that it's going to gain in value. So I do believe that there is financial gain for them as well. The question about hardship, I'm sorry, we just don't see this as a hardship. A boat, having a boat and a boat lift, I understand that they have the right to view the water. The lots are set up to where we have a full water view. That particular property has a half water view, and I don't see it as being or shouldn't be treated equally in that sense, because one key point there is when we found out from the former owners that they called us and said that they had a buyer for the property. So she asked if it was okay. The buyers, potential buyers, wanted to know if they could have our phone number so they can call us to discuss something. I asked her what it was about. I said sure, gave her my phone number, asked her what it was about. She said, I think they might want to talk to you about putting in a boat dock. And I told her we're not willing to do that. We're not going to sign. We told her the reasons why. I said, you can give them our phone number, have them call us, and we'll tell them ourselves, or you can relay the message to the buyer and to the realtor before they really consider buying the property. She said, okay. We never got a call from the potential buyers. I was told by the former owner that she did pass on the message to the realtor and the owner or the potential buyers. The day of the closing, we happened to see them on the property. They invited us to come over and look at the house, introduce themselves as the buyers. They hadn't yet signed on the paperwork. They were actually doing the final walkthrough of the property on that day. We went in, looked around, they invited us out to the backyard, and were explaining the reasons why they thought, you know, they were explaining how they were hoping to put a dock in and asking if we would sign. We immediately said no. We told them all of our reasons why. So we feel that it's not a hardship because they knew up front, they knew before they even purchased, you know, when they saw the property. I'm sure they did plenty of walkthroughs. They were aware that they were going to need signatures for the dock. They heard it directly from us before they closed that day. They could have easily changed their minds and not bought the property.
Thank you.
When was this?
I'm sorry?
When did they buy the house?
I believe it was purchased in December of 2025.
Okay.
And we had the conversation with the previous owners, I would say right when they made the offer, which I'm guessing is about 30 days prior. So they were well aware.
Thank you.
I've got one question. So, and just based on what you're saying, so you believe because they're a lot smaller, they have no right to a boat or a boat dock. I just want to make that clear. You were stating that because they don't have a full lot, they don't deserve a boat or a boat dock. I just want to make this clear.
I'm not saying
that's
that
what you said. I want to make this clear. I want you an opportunity to clear
Not
this
that
up.
they don't deserve it. I think the 13K or even the 10K pound boat lift is excessive. And the fact that they're having to encroach on our property and our neighbor's property to be able to have a boat. No, I understand the rights, and I understand that, you know, they should have a right to, but I believe the size of the boat and the way they're positioning it, just overall, it's a danger. It's encroachment on our property. It's, you know, it has the potential to decrease and our neighbors' property values and gives them financial gain. So I don't see that as a hardship.
Let me ask you a question. So, we're talking about, for your property, you said you're on the west side, correct?
The east side.
You're on the east side,
Right.
okay.
We're on 520 64th Avenue.
Okay. So they're asking for basically 1 foot.
I'm sorry?
They're asking for 1 foot to be closer to your property.
Oh, it's,
And then the dock length is going from a requirement of 18.75 to 21. So you're looking at, you know, a little over a foot there. So
well, no.
if he was within those numbers, he wouldn't need a variance, he could have a boat.
Right,
And
if
he
he
could
was, a-
navigate in that area. So what I'm trying to understand is, everything you're saying is you just don't like the idea that he has a boat, but he would have those same navigation challenges with a variance or without a variance, depending on, what these numbers are. So if I owned a property, I'd certainly want access to the water if I wanted a boat. And I'm
Right,
trying to
and I-
understand, when your boat lift is opposite where theirs is, so there's no conflict between navigating, I'm just trying to understand what the real issue
Right.
is.
well, there's no conflict. Yes, our boat lift is on the other side. But we still have, it limits our option if we decide to later on. We still have some room if we wanted to expand it.
1 foot,
I'm sorry?
1 foot.
1 foot. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Okay, just one moment, please. If you're done, I think so there's another member of your household might be interested in addressing the board as well.
okay. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying, I don't want to give the impression that I don't think that they have rights to the water. That's not it at all. It's just the size and the fact that they're encroaching on our property. They have the option to put the dock far enough in to where it doesn't require a signature from us anyway. I'm not sure about the other neighbor, but
I think we heard you say that to start out, and that's why these comments were made.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
If anyone else would like to address the board? Yep, just please share your name and address for the record.
Reinhard Langner, 520 64th Avenue. It was my wife that just spoke. The problem is we don't care whether they have a boat or not, really, because their property value is going to go up and mine is going to go down. When they put their deck up and sit on the end of it, they're going to be looking right in my windows. So it's more than a foot. They have no space there. They're right on my lot line. And if they're a foot, they shouldn't be that close anyway. When I built my dock, I wanted to put the boat lift on the other side, and I was told I couldn't do it. And I said, why? They said, well, those are the rules of the navigation place. So I went by the rules. I put it on the other side. Now they can come in and throw the rules out the window because they bought a house not big enough for a lot.
Let me be
They-
clear on what I said, though.
Yeah.
If they were 1 foot inside of where they are right now, they wouldn't require a variance.
How can you say that? If I could,
Dock length.
I had to start from the middle of my lot, and I had to go in the middle.
If the dock length goes a little over or under a foot from it where it's proposed right now, and if the width was also 1 foot less, they wouldn't need a variance.
Of course they would. They need my
They
signature.
would be within,
No,
they
sir.
would be within the requirements.
Those signatures only required if they're going beyond what is allowable within the code. So a signature is not required for anybody to build a dock as long as they're doing it within the scope of the land development code. I'm not privy to your case and your specific situation, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk
But
about your
I guess we're
neighbors.
throwing all the rules out the window because they bought a house. The house on the water would cost them a lot more. So if they wanted a full water advantage, they should have bought a house with the full water view and everything.
I appreciate you sharing your opinion. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf or in opposition of today's case? Hearing none, we'll close public comment and open for board discussion.
Well, this is difficult because it seems to me the applicant has done everything possible to try to make this work. But we've had a case like this last time. The rule is if the neighbor doesn't want it, if they don't agree to it, then
Then it
unless.
comes before us for
Yeah, I know.
for review.
I remember that from last month.
Yep.
I think.
But
there's
it's
a real
just-
challenge with these corner lots.
That's the problem.
We looked at a house at Via Del Mar at one time, it faced the exact same situation.
Yep.
It's tough. If we don't make any consideration, they can't get a boat. And that's sort of like getting 24 feet is not a big boat, that's.
No, it's not a big boat, but it's just such a problematic lot, as you said.
It is, but then you bought a house on the water and you want to have a boat, You have to compromise on the size and the lift.
But as he
Which
said,
they already have done, by the way.
Which
He's
he's
done
done,
that
yeah.
already, and Jimmy brought up some great points too. I mean, it's, you know, even where it stands right now, you know, testimony was made that, you know, they can look in the dock and look in the windows. I'm looking at the house to the right of it. You can stand on that deck right now and look into the windows.
Yeah.
So, you know, you look, that's why I asked. You do not believe they deserve a boat, or they can have a boat there. They can, and we're looking at like a foot, and extremely reasonable. You know, I'm not worried about the navigational issues because I ride a boat. That's not an issue to me. And your points were well taken. I mean, it's you know, they have done. It definitely presents a challenge, but clearly they have taken it down 55%. They've done really what they need to do to enjoy what they should be allowed to enjoy, which is being on the ocean, being in the intercoastal and the Gulf. You know,
Yeah.
so
The other
that's
thing
all I have to say.
I would consider is the variance from from a width perspective, if we're looking at the usable seawall, is really not even a factor.
Negligible, yeah.
And so we're talking about the length, and in terms of future development, if they were to build the dock at length that is outright, that would still be a concern. So that's really not a factor
Yeah,
either.
I agree.
Brandon, did you happen to find the answer on the dock length?
I did, yes, and the applicant is correct. They are compliant with the adjacent neighbors are compliant with the, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
No.
if it didn't have a lift, could they bring it in and tie it up? Is the lift part of what's causing this, because it's big?
Well, leaving a boat in the water is a
That's-
whole different world.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not-
I'm
that's not
aware.
fun.
I'm aware.
You paint your hull and
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't have a boat.
Are we at the point for a motion? We've closed public comment. Thank you.
I think it's reasonable. I'd like to move that the board approves case number 26120.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Core,
No.
Member Kunzer,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Chair Chase.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That concludes our action items for today. Any commentary or discussion for next month's meeting or in general for the board? Kristen or City Attorney?
So for next month, we do have two that are kind of in different stages, but if neither come to fruition, then we will probably cancel for next month.
Okay.
But we'll let you know as soon as we can.
You
Sounds
may
good.
have three.
We may have three?
Well, if I'm not able to show up, is that what you were asking?
Oh,
no.
no.
Oh,
As far as
There are two cases in development that haven't been
All right, I
completed.
didn't know if Dan was going to be in town, if he'd still be drinking wine in Italy.
Hopefully he's back.
But your attendance next month is
I'll know
questionable?
next week.
Okay, okay, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
City Attorney, any?
I've got nothing.
All right, meeting adjourned.